Rentaro was a desperate simp who confessed to 100 girls but got rejected every time because of his ugly face. However, everything changed when the god of love gave him 100 soulmates but warned that he must date them all or they will die. Everything started on the day Rentaro confessed to his new crush and got rejected for the 100th time. Heartbroken, he decided to go to a shrine to pray for better luck in his quest to be booed up and out-simp Sanji. Surprisingly, the god of love showed up and told him he was destined to have 100 soulmates, and he would easily know who they were because he would feel an electrifying zing. A month later, as Rentaro was walking to class, he accidentally bumped into two girls, Hakari and Karane. Almost immediately, the trio was hit with an electrifying zing and Rentaro realized that God was telling him the truth.
My time has come.
When Rentaro tried to help them up, Hakari pretended to have sprained her ankle so Rentaro would carry her. Seeing this, Karane started acting like a hardcore tsundere and also feigned an injury so he could give her some attention too. In response, Rentaro began punching himself because he thought he was a jerk for hurting both his soulmates on the first meetup. But before he could permanently remodel his face, the girls jumped up and begged him to stop. When he asked them how they could stand up with their injuries, they went back to acting and insisted that he help them to the nurse's office. With either girl on his side, Rentaro felt like he was in heaven and wondered how it would feel to have them servicing his pole. As they walked, they overheard some students talking about how finding a 4-leaf clover in a bed of flowers increases the success rate of a love confession. The next moment, the girls suddenly rushed off, claiming they had something to do, which confused Rentaro. After school, Rentaro was on his way home when he noticed the girls in the garden looking for a 4-leaf clover for him, so he decided to do something for them too. A few minutes later, he was by the flower bed holding 2 cans and called out to Karane, and she was surprised to see him. Just then, he noticed that Hakari wasn't there, and Karane said she was probably in the bathroom. He then offered her one of the cans, and Karane's face heated up like a kettle before she took it. As she began walking away, she shyly thanked him, causing the idiot Rentaro to also blush. After she left, Hakari returned, and so he offered her the second can. Hakari deviously told him she couldn't finish the whole can and asked him to drink half of it so she'd get to kiss him indirectly. After taking a sip, he handed her the can back, but she got so excited about the idea of an indirect kiss that she spilled it. As she started lamenting over the missed opportunity, Rentaro offered her his handkerchief, but she grabbed his hand and confessed to him out of the blue. Rentaro was over the moon with this confession and was just about to respond when Karane suddenly returned. She then got all up in Hakari's face, accusing her of trying to steal the boy she likes. But Hakari feigned ignorance. Karane then remembered that Rentaro was watching them and started acting like a tsundere. However, she eventually set her pride aside and confessed to him directly. Rentaro was left staring at her in shock, so she and Hakari approached him and asked which of them he'd like to date. Unable to choose between them, he went to the shrine again to seek the love god's advice. However, the god revealed that Rentaro couldn't reject any of the girls because if he did, she would die a horrible death.
What?
On his way home, Rentaro lamented his misfortune disguised as a blessing and decided that he'd date them both because he didn't want them to die. The following day, when he approached the girls, they were surprised to see that he looked like he'd been playing in the dirt. When they tried to question him, he revealed that he spent the entire night looking for 4-leaf clovers and managed to find 2 of them, and that's why he is covered in dirt. He then asked both of them to be his girlfriends, which shocked them. Karane outright asked if his head was screwed on properly, and Rentaro assured them that it was, since he was well aware of how hard it was to confess one's feelings. He admitted that he couldn't pick one of them since he liked them both. He also promised to treat them right, and offered them the clovers he found to show his sincerity. Karane immediately refused and accused him of being a shameless 2-timer. But Hakari didn't share her opinion and agreed to date Rentaro. Seeing this, Karane changed her mind and agreed to also let him clap her. The next day, the trio walked to school, holding hands, because they were excited about their first day together. When they arrived, they witnessed a student being chased by a hideous creature in a hat. According to the girls, that creature was the vice principal and Baba, and if she caught anyone running in the halls, she would chase them down and kiss them as punishment. The idea of having an old hag's tongue down their throat made the trio shiver with disgust, so Hakari changed the topic, asking Rentaro if he'd ever kissed anyone before. Rentaro admitted that he hadn't, as they were his first girlfriends, and almost immediately, a silent battle line was drawn between the girls, with each wanting to be his first kiss. During lunch break, they went to the roof to eat, and Hakari set her plan in motion by feeding Rentaro some of her food. Seeing this, Karane tried to stuff a cookie in his mouth, but ended up poking him in the eye instead. Despite this, Rentaro ate the cookie and praised it like an acclaimed food critic before Hakari suggested that he eat the baki snack she brought. Coincidentally, all the ends had been snapped off, so she decided to feed it to him using her mouth. Rentaro freaked out when he noticed how close her face was to his, but the girl wasn't about to give up and started eating the other end of the snack. When Karane realized they were about to recreate the famous Lady and the Tramp scene, she tried to intervene, but poked Rentaro's second eye instead. Her hair also tickled his nose, causing him to sneeze and break off the baki he was sharing with Hakare. But at that moment, Karane noticed his bloodshot eyes. Since she was clueless that she had given them to him, she assumed he had a cold and tried to use it to her advantage. Before she could kiss him, Hakari slapped her out of the way using her overgrown melons and tried to take over, but Karane wouldn't let her. This caused her to receive another plot slap, and when Rentaro noticed that they were about to begin a Rhea Ripley versus Liv Morgan showdown, he stopped them. When he asked if they were fighting for who got to kiss him first, the girls began glitching like an outdated Android phone. When they calmed down, he revealed that he also wanted to kiss them, and explained that he would do it randomly while they were blindfolded, so they wouldn't know who he kissed first. Hakari praised his idea, saying it was genius, but Karane pointed out that someone could take off their blindfold during the process. Rentaro said it wouldn't happen because they would all pinky promise not to remove their blindfolds. Hearing this, Karane was convinced he had been dropped on his head as a baby, but since she was a simp for him, she agreed to play by his rules. When the game began, Rentaro took a step towards Hakari, but since he put his hands out, he accidentally touched her milkers.
Yeah, boy.
Hakari's immediate reaction was to act shy, even though she told him she wouldn't mind if he went further. Embarrassed, Rentaro tapped the unsuspecting Karane and told her they had to start all over. The second time, Rentaro walked towards Karane, but a light breeze caused her skirt to fly up, exposing the ribbons of her plot covers to a curious cat. When the cat began playing with the ribbons, Karane assumed it was Rentaro acting on his cultured desires, so she started beating him up. However, when she realized the culprit was a kitty, she felt ashamed and apologized. Following this, they told Hakari they needed to start over, refusing to explain why, but the girl knew it was because of Karane, thanks to new additions on Rentaro's face. What happened after this was a series of unfortunate events, and in the end, the girls started blaming each other for things going wrong. Rentaro told them that it was his fault, and before they could stop him, he ran off, screaming for Inbaba to come get him. Like a possessed being, the woman emerged from the shadows and began chasing Rentaro down. When she caught him, she attempted to tongue him down, but Karane grabbed her throat in an iron grip, as the woman complained that she was a disrespectful brat. Hakari called out a fake school inspector to witness the cultured teacher in action. This caused her to panic, so she scurried away like a roach and attacked another student instead. The girls then rushed to Rentaro and asked why he'd almost let Baba Yaga's twin have her way with him. Rentaro explained that he didn't like how they were fighting over his first kiss, so he was willing to give it away if it meant they would get along. Moved by his words, the girls simultaneously agreed to let the other have his first kiss, which surprised him. When he asked why, they shyly told him they could tell how much the other loved him by just looking at themselves. Suddenly, he hugged them and admitted he'd had the wrong idea about them. They then returned to the rooftop, and this time, Rentaro suggested they all kiss at once.
Damn good deal.
Karane pointed out that his idea was something out of those dirty movies he watched all the time, but Rentaro assured her that it wasn't. Once he succeeded in convincing them, they held hands as if they were about to sing Kumbaya, then kissed. The following day, the trio went to the library to look for cool books since Hakari wanted to continue cooking for Rentaro. While the girls were checking out a book, Rentaro wandered off on his own, looking for a good book to read. When he tried to reach for one, he noticed someone else was doing the same, so he turned to face them. Immediately, he felt the electrifying zing and realized that the chibi girl was his third soulmate. The girl's name was Shiska, and she used the book she was holding to introduce herself as a librarian. Rentaro assumed it was because she was staying true to the no-talking rule, so he tried communicating with her using signs. Still using the book, she asked if his mouth was out of commission, and Rentaro threw the question back at her. Shiska explained that she was bad at communicating with people, so the book served as a sort of teleprompter for her. When she apologized and tried to get someone else to attend to him, he stopped her, saying he was okay with her being there. He also asked if she could recommend good romance novels for him to read, so Shiska selected the ones she thought he would like. By the time she was done, Rentaro was shocked to see that the books she had picked were stacked in 2 piles. Shiska mistook his reaction for something else and apologized, but Rentaro told her that he would take all of them. However, he learned that he couldn't do so because he didn't have a library card and a new one would take a week to issue. Seeing how dejected he was, Shiska offered him her precious book since it didn't belong to the library. Rentaro thanked her for the book and asked what she was, to which she responded by showing him her school ID. When he looked at it, he saw they were in the same class, so he told her and introduced himself before going to look for Hakari and Karane. He found them reading cookbooks in one corner of the library and got all emotional for some reason while they talked. That night, he stayed up reading the book Shiska had given him. It was a star-crossed lover's story about a princess and the knight who swore to protect her with his life. After the knight saved the princess from a dragon, their love blossomed. But fate was determined to separate them as the king arranged a marriage for the princess with the prince of a neighboring kingdom. On the day she was meant to leave for her new home, the knight came for her, but the royal guards wouldn't let him through. All he could do was call out to her, asking if there was a way for them to defy the cruel fate life had given them. since the story ended there. Rentaro had to wait to get the second volume to find out what happened next. The following day at school, he approached Shizuka to return the book and told her how much he loved reading it. The girl panicked a little since she wasn't used to the attention, but when she calmed down, she pulled out the second volume from her bag and handed it to him. Rentaro thanked her for it, but insisted on repaying her for introducing him to peak fiction, so he took her to get a drink from the vending machine. While they were sitting outside, he asked Shizuka if she always read books, and she nodded. This prompted him to tell her that he loved reading too, and that the book she'd given him was the perfect blend of romance and adventure. Watching him geek out made Shizuka laugh silently before she held up the book and told him she'd also read it so many times. It was then he realized why she could easily find the line she wanted to convey in a conversation, so he told her she was cool. However, Shizuka disagreed with him, saying a friendless loser like her didn't deserve such praise. When she thanked him for not judging her, he realized that things weren't as he thought they were and asked to borrow the first book again, so she gave it to him. Later that day, the other librarian told Shizuka that she seemed cheerful, but when she asked if something nice had happened, the girl freaked out. She immediately used her book to convey that things were still the same with her, so the librarian didn't push the issue. After she left, Shizuka went about her duty, but she couldn't help but think about her first encounter with Rentaro. Days passed, and Rentaro didn't speak to Shizuka, so the girl became a little sad. One afternoon, while she was on her way somewhere, she spotted him eating with Hakari and Karane. The girls asked why he had looked tired over the past few days, and he told them it was because he had been busy doing stuff late at night. Immediately, the dirty-minded girls assumed his room was littered with socks, but when he asked what they were thinking, they refused to say anything. Instead, Hakari kissed his cheek, claiming she was sharing some of her energy with him, so he hugged her. Karane became jealous and tried to do the same, but the violent girl headbutted him instead. While they sorted that out, Shizuka became even more depressed because she realized that Rentaro wasn't as single as she had hoped. As she sat clutching her book, she recalled the past when she was ganged up on for not being able to speak. Even her own mother verbally lashed her for it, making her feel like a freak, all because she couldn't speak, no matter how hard she tried. Later on, while she was in the library, Rentaro suddenly showed up and asked her to bring out her phone, explaining that he wanted her to install an application. After she did it, he instructed her to download a file he had sent her, which was the ebook of the first volume of the book she had lent him. When he ordered her to select a text, a voice read it out, surprising her, so he explained that the application was a text-to-speech software. Realizing that he'd gone through all the trouble to make it easier for her to have conversations, Shizuka became moved. So when he asked her to test it out, she used it to confess to him, but added that she didn't need him to respond. She was silently sobbing when she did this, so Rentaro pulled her closer and blurted out that he also liked her. Shizuka told him that they couldn't be together because he already had someone, but he assured her that it didn't matter. The following day, he took Shizuka to the roof to meet Hakari and Karane and asked for their permission to date her. Of course, the girls were shocked by his absurd request, while Karane was prepared to beat him up. Hakari was more accepting. The lovesick girl thanked him for not tossing them aside after he found a new lover, so Karane asked if she had always been stupid. Rentaro assured them that his feelings for them hadn't changed and promised that he would love all three of them equally. He also vowed to commit seppuku if he did anything to make them feel otherwise, so they accepted Shizuka as his new girlfriend. With that out of the way, they sat down to eat lunch and Rentaro formally introduced the girls to each other. He also informed Shizuka that he'd included their names in the book, making it easier for her to address them. After Shizuka tested it, Rentaro began telling Hakari and Karane things about Shizuka, such as that she was a librarian and loved books, as well as how she unconsciously moved her feet according to how she felt about a scene. Shizuka was surprised he'd noticed such a small detail, so Rentaro decided to prove that he always paid attention to his girls by talking about their habits. He said that Hakari always put a finger to her mouth whenever she was thinking, and that Karane twirled her hair when she was trying to act tough. The girls were stunned by his spot-on observation, and in the end, all three of their brains overheated because they couldn't handle his attention. However, Rentaro kept talking, and when he mentioned their kiss, Shizuka became intrigued. She wanted to know if they had done the tongue dance, and once Rentaro confirmed it, she became extremely shy and quiet. Her behavior prompted Hakari to question if she also wanted to kiss Rentaro, and Shizuka answered that it was an activity reserved for when she got married. Rentaro then promised to go at her pace and not rush her into doing something she didn't want. As they continued eating, Hakari and Karane started competing over who got to feed Rentaro, and ended up stuffing him full of food. When they began trying to intimidate themselves, Rentaro noticed that Shizuka remained quiet, so he decided to help her loosen up by suggesting they play a game. To make it more interesting, he told the girls that the winner would tickle the loser, and they got hyped. After the first round, Karane emerged as the loser while Rentaro was the winner, so he tickled her. She managed to stop herself from laughing, so by the time he finished, she looked like she'd just seen fireworks. Looking at her almost made Rentaro explode, but he managed to control himself and continue the game. After the second round, he was still the winner, but Hakari was the loser, and the girl was more than happy with that. She shamelessly offered her jugs to him to tickle, causing Rentaro to malfunction. So Karane, the plot blocker, set her straight. However, when Rentaro began tickling her, the girl went from laughing to trying to control her floodgates. In the end, she begged him to stop because she realized that water parks weren't the only ones with water slides. In the third round, Rentaro won again, and this time, Shizuka was the loser. However, Rentaro was surprised to see that despite how much he tickled her, the girl didn't make a sound. Instead, she indicated her laughter through the quotes in her phone, leaving the girls in awe. Suddenly, it dawned on them that Rentaro hadn't lost, so they became determined to make it happen and tickle him. Sadly, it was Shizuka who won, and instead of tickling Rentaro, she poked him, leaving the girls speechless. As they watched them, Hakari wondered if Rentaro had fallen for Shizuka because of her innocence, while Karane just glared at her. When Shizuka eventually stopped poking Rentaro, he excused himself to go to the bathroom, leaving the girls alone. Almost immediately, Karane turned on Shizuka, demanding to know why she'd wasted a golden opportunity by poking Rentaro. She also pointed out that Shizuka was holding herself back because of them and got even angrier. Hakari teasingly told Karane to calm down or she'd explode, but Karane turned on her instead. Seeing this, Shizuka quickly explained that she didn't want to overstep her boundaries as a newcomer. Seeing as Rentaro was also her boyfriend, when she kept complaining, Hakari teased her, so she popped off on the melon goddess, who didn't care. Shizuka then apologized, but Karane hugged her tightly and told her to stop apologizing and take action instead. After she let go, Shizuka admitted she had been acting that way because she didn't think she was their equal. She also said a few more things, leaving the girls feeling like she was a cutie who could do no wrong. It also made Karane apologize for her harshness, while Hakari assured Shizuka that she was one of them. As the girls talked, they had no idea that Rentaro was watching them and feeling proud of himself. It turned out that he'd noticed Karane was angry while Shizuka was poking him. However, he wasn't sure why, so he decided to leave, hoping she would open up, and she did. When he returned outside, Karane told him that the last penalty had to be redone, as poking wasn't the same as tickling. Hakari agreed and asked Shizuka if she wanted to tickle Rentaro, and Shizuka admitted she did. She also said she wanted to kiss him, so he granted her wish, causing the girl to have an emotional overload and freeze up. While Rentaro attempted to revive her, Hakari noticed Karane was in shock and decided to mess with her. To do this, she approached Rentaro and asked for a kiss, which he gave her, causing Karane to look away. When he finished, he asked if she also wanted a kiss, and as expected, she acted like she didn't even though she moved closer to him. Seeing this, Rentaro hugged her and told her that she was cute, causing her to pull away as she tried to control her emotions. She also called him a tease and slammed her fists on his chest, but Rentaro didn't mind and told her he wanted to kiss her. She shyly admitted she wanted him to kiss her, so he did, leaving her feelings as happy as the others. He then thanked them for dating a loser like him, and started to laugh when they called him an idiot. Weeks later, while the students gathered to check their exam results, Rentaro returned to class because he forgot his phone. When he arrived in the classroom, he found the phone on his desk and saw a student there. He remembered that her name was Nano, so he addressed her, asking if she wasn't interested in checking the results. Nano answered that there wasn't any need for her to do so, as she already knew that she had the top score. When she turned to look at him, they were hit with the electrifying zing, and he wondered if she was his next soulmate. Because of that, he tried to convince her to go with him to check the results, but Nano insisted there was no need. When he returned to the girls, they bragged about getting good grades, and as he praised them, he spotted Nano's name on the list. Just like she'd said, she was the top scorer, and Rentaro couldn't help but be impressed by this. However, he was also curious, so he asked the girls what they knew about Nano. They didn't know much, but Karane said that the students believed she was an advanced robot because, aside from being smart, she never showed any emotion. Later that day, during biology class, Rentaro got paired with Nano, so to avoid gawking at her like an idiot, he left to bring the microscope. When he returned, he was surprised to see her copying from their textbook, so he told her that she had defeated the purpose of their practical. Nano argued that she hadn't, saying that since the scientists had already provided the answer, there was no need to waste time looking through the microscope. As Rentaro tried arguing that her point was stupid, he noticed the teacher watching them, so he told her that they had to do the work to avoid getting in trouble. To appease him, she set up the microscope, but then placed the textbook under it, prompting him to ask if her brain was asleep. Nano answered that she wasn't about to perform a pointless activity to find what was already drawn for her, so he decided to do the practical alone. However, he cut himself, and when he got up to rinse the cut, Nano told him she had a more effective way to heal him. The next moment, she put his finger in her mouth, which shocked him, but she claimed that she was disinfecting it since saliva contained antimicrobial agents. As she continued sucking on his finger, Rentaro remained shocked, even though he wished she were doing that to something else. A little while later, when class ended, Rentaro approached Nano to thank her for helping him, and also to try to get to know her better. However, Nano told him she wasn't interested in making friends, so he tried to convince her that making friends was fun. In response, Nano expressed her views on fun, saying that it was an unproductive way to spend one's time. Rentaro tried to get her to change her mind, but she delivered a closing statement that left him no room to speak, then walked away. That night, while Nano was studying in her room, she couldn't help but think of Rentaro and what she'd done to him in the lab. It had been so out of character for her that when she tried to find a logical explanation for it and failed, she began continuously writing the equation for pi. When she realized the exercise wasn't helping her focus, she concluded she needed to do something else, which was why the very next day she confessed to Rentaro. However, when he agreed to date her, she shocked him by saying she wasn't interested in mingling with dullards. Rentaro asked what she was going on about, so she explained that she had come so they could put an end to their love because she wasn't ready to commit to stuff like that. She believed that romance was also meaningless, and when she tried to leave, Rentaro stopped her. He told her that her rejection meant nothing, as he had already been rejected 100 times, and then asked her to go on a date with him before she could refuse. He promised that he would give up if he couldn't win her over, and she agreed. A few days later, they met at an amusement park for their date, and after Rentaro finished gushing over her outfit, he began the date. The first ride they went on was the carousel, and Nano felt like he was wasting her time. Just as she was about to tell him, she noticed he had an instant camera and told him it was a useless device because if the pictures got lost, there was no way to recover them. Rentaro pretended not to hear what she said and took a photo of her, which he liked, but she called illogical. Next, they went into the haunted house, but instead of being scared, the highly logical girl told Rentaro that ghosts didn't exist. When the actors began popping out, Rentaro became frightened, but Nano remained unshaken and called him a spineless wimp. After they left the place, they went on the spinning teacup ride, but Nano was still unimpressed. She kept condemning it until the ride was over, and when they entered a maze, she climbed a wall to find the exit quickly. Rentaro scolded her for that, but even after she agreed to conquer the labyrinth the usual way, she still complained about it. Hoping to improve her customer review points, Rentaro took her on a Ferris wheel ride, but she was too afraid to point out its flaws, so he sat next to her and held her hand to comfort her. At the end of the day, the two sat on a bench, and Rentaro showed Nano the photos he'd taken as he asked if she enjoyed their date. Nano admitted she had enjoyed hanging out with him, but added that the activity itself was meaningless. Her words prompted Rentaro to test her, so he gathered all the photos and attempted to burn them. However, before he could do so, she recalled her own words about the photos not having a backup file, so she made him drop them. Not surprised, he told her that she was only pretending not to care because she wasn't used to showing emotions. When he mentioned that she had enjoyed every moment of their date, Nano started crying and admitted that she wanted to date him. Rentaro then accepted her confession again, and after they kissed, they returned home. The following day, Rentaro introduced Nano to his girlfriends and asked for their permission to date her. As expected, Karane had a few choice words for him before she agreed, but the others didn't mind at all and easily gave their blessings. Like he did when he brought Shiska, he vowed to commit seppuku if he failed them, and Nano told him that the most effective method to cross over was to drink poison. Karane scolded her for suggesting that, but Hakari was more interested in the fact that Rentaro didn't take them to the amusement park with him. To make amends, he suggested they go on a group date on their next off day, so Hakari proposed they visit the water park, which had just opened. Following this, Karane went swimsuit shopping after school because she wanted to impress with her looks. When the day of the date arrived, Rentaro met the girls by the pool and almost transcended into the heavens when he saw Hakari, Nano, and Shiska in their swimsuits. However, Shiska, who was wearing her school swimsuit, apologized for not looking as appealing as the others. Rentaro assured her that he didn't mind because she could be dressed in rags and he'd still be head over heels for her. As he patted her head, he suddenly realized that Karane was missing, so he asked the girls where she was. Before they could respond, Karane showed up wearing a cover-up, and the idiot Rentaro started panicking because he somehow assumed she had come out while changing. When he began insisting that she return to the dressing room, Karane told him to chill out and explained that she was covered because she was cold, worried that she might be sick. Rentaro and Hakari suggested calling it a day, but Karane refused. Nano then told her to sit in the sun to warm up, and Karane thanked her, saying that she didn't have to worry about her. Nano assured her that she wasn't because they weren't that close, and Karane took offense. When she began trying to drop-kick Nano, Rentaro told himself that she was as healthy as a horse, so he didn't have to worry. On the other hand, Shiska approached Karane and asked if she wanted some company, to which Karane told her that she didn't. After she walked off to sit under the sun, Rentaro and the others got into the pool. The water's current pulled Shiska away, while Nano got it into her head that the pool was a survival training course for the apocalypse. When she attempted to swim against the current, Rentaro told her not to even think about it, so she stopped. Just then, Hakari bumped into him, claiming that the current had pushed her, but he realized it was a lie when he noticed that she was pushing her mummy milkers against him. The awestruck idiot kept staring at her goods.
Wow! Beautiful!
And when Nano noticed what was happening, she decided to get in on the action too. The only difference was that she was more direct than Hakari because she grabbed Rentaro's hand and placed it on her melons. Refusing to be one-upped, Hakari put Rentaro's second hand on her plots, leaving the boy even more shocked than before. After a while, they saw him floating in his blood, which he'd lost from overstimulation.
Come on, man.
After confirming that he wasn't breathing, the girls pulled him out of the pool, and Hakari tried giving him mouth-to-mouth, but just ended up kissing him instead. Seeing this, Nano pushed her out of the way and did the same thing, so Hakari pushed her away so she could continue the task. Meanwhile, poor Shiska was still being swept away by the current, and when she tried to call for help, no one heard her. The worst part was that her float got pierced, and she ended up stranded on a small patch of land in the middle of the pool. Back at the poolside, Hakari and Nano became dejected because their so-called resuscitation method hadn't revived Rentaro. Nano suggested that they look for a lifeguard, and since they were the jealous type, they agreed that it had to be a male lifeguard. As they ran around searching for one, a group of guys, thinking with their sausages, stopped them and tried to get them to hang out. Hakari politely told them they were in a hurry, and as she ran past them, one of the idiots attempted to grab her upper arm. This idiot believed that by doing so, he could determine how soft her pillows were, but Nano saw through his intentions and stopped him. Seeing as he was a delusional degenerate, he assumed she wanted him, but Nano proved him wrong by poking his eyes. When his friends threatened to make her pay, she told them they didn't have to because she would go with them. She then told Hakari to go on without her, but Hakari stepped between her and the creeps and told them to get lost. Annoyed, one of the guys moved to grab Hakari, but Rentaro suddenly showed up and grabbed the guy's face instead. He politely asked them not to go near his girlfriends because they didn't like it. The guys insisted the girls were at fault because they had tried to turn one of their friends into a pirate, and Rentaro told them it was self-defense. He also told them that if they were in desperate need of a new friend, he was down to hang out. But the guys weren't interested in him. They asked him to take his girlfriend and leave, believing it was only one of the girls. But he surprised them by revealing that he was dating both girls. Of course, they didn't believe him and demanded that he prove it by kissing both girls. Rentaro refused because he wasn't interested in putting on a show for them, but the girls didn't mind and kissed him. Shocked by their boldness, the guys ran off. So the girls asked Rentaro how he knew they were in trouble. Before he could respond, they heard Karane complaining about Rentaro leaving her alone as she jogged over to them. She then told them that Rentaro had come to their rescue because of her. Apparently, she'd noticed the guys harassing them, and when she tried to go to them, she stumbled upon Rentaro's almost lifeless body. After trying and failing to revive him, she told him that the girls were in trouble, and almost immediately, he woke up and took off running. When she concluded her story, Rentaro thanked Nano for defending Hakari from those guys, but told her never to put herself at risk again, so she apologized. Just then, Karane asked where Shiska was, and that was when they realized that they hadn't seen her since they got into the pool. Rentaro immediately started panicking because he knew Shiska couldn't swim, and before the girls could say anything, he rushed off. Meanwhile, Shiska's phone died because she'd been using it to ask for help, and just as she was about to lose hope, she heard Rentaro calling out to her. She tried making gestures to gain his attention, but that didn't work, so she had no choice but to force herself to speak. It was barely audible, but Rentaro heard it and quickly jumped into the pool. After he carried her to safety, Shiska thanked him by kissing him, which caused the guy's brain to fry. Once he dropped her off with the others, he told them he was going to rest and invited Karane to come with him since she was still cold. While they were relaxing, he told her he knew she was faking her cold because she felt insecure about the size of her chest. He then advised her not to be and took her cover-up off.
Yeah, boy.
Karane's immediate reaction was to slap him, but he didn't care and hugged her, saying she looked beautiful. He didn't stop there and added that he wouldn't care if she was built like a surfboard because he would always be attracted to her. His words made Karane happy, so when he let go of her, she kissed him, which surprised him. Following this, they joined the others, who complimented Karane's swimsuit, after which they all returned to splashing around in the pool. Days later, as Rentaro was being dragged to the cafeteria by the girls, he happened to lock eyes with a red-haired baddie and felt the soulmate zing when they passed by the science lab. Since the girls were dragging him, he couldn't stop to confirm anything, so the next day he dropped by the lab. The only person there was Kujuri, a vertically challenged loli, who thought he had come to join the chemistry club. After welcoming him in, she served him tea in a beaker and told him to drink it when he tried to refuse it. Not to come off as rude, Rentaro drank his tea, and as Kujuri began yapping about her newest experiment, the human magnet medicine, she showed him 2 test tubes containing different colored liquids and explained that if a person drank them, their body would start reacting like a magnet. After her explanation, she asked Rentaro to drink one of the liquids so she could confirm if it worked, but he tried to refuse, ignoring his opinion on the matter. The crazy girl forced him to take it, and almost immediately, his body began behaving like a magnet, which surprised him. Kuzuri felt proud of herself and then told him that the drug's side effect was 3 days and nights of constipation. Rentaro complained that she should have led with that from the start, but she ignored him and drank from the second test tube. Almost immediately, she became stuck to him and happily pointed out that opposites attract. Rentaro found her behavior extremely adorable and tried to make sense of what he was feeling since he hadn't zinged with her. When she tried to pull away and discovered that she couldn't, point, she realized that the drug was more potent than she had assumed. However, she assured him that everything would be fine, as the drug would wear off after 10 minutes. Just as Rentaro tried to relax, Kuzuri suddenly revealed that she'd been holding in her pee for a while. He immediately tried to push her off him because he didn't want to get peed on, but she told him not to worry since she was wearing a diaper. After they separated, he found himself watching her and wondered what was causing his attraction to her. Just then, Kuzuri revealed that she'd laced his tea with a love potion because she was in love with him and wanted him to love her back. As soon as she finished speaking, Rentaro tried to make himself throw up, causing her to feel that he was irritated by the idea of being with her. She soon started crying and began pounding her fist against his back, accusing him of being a brute. Rentaro told her that she had the wrong idea and explained that he didn't want to be drugged up when he accepted her love confession. Suddenly, he started convulsing, so to stop it, Kuzuri drank another drug and fed it to him through her mouth. Once he was feeling much better, she expressed sadness at the fact that he would no longer like her because the love drug had been neutralized. Rentaro assured her that it didn't matter because he still found himself attracted to her, which he found odd. Suddenly, Kuzuri went on all fours and started begging him to date her, but the next moment, she transformed from a plotless chibi to the big melon baddie he'd zinged with the day before. Seeing his confusion, Kuzuri explained that her smaller form was the result of a failed immortality drug she'd been working on. She said she could only return to her original form if she took a neutralizer, but it usually lasted only an hour. Her revelation was shocking to Rentaro, especially when she told him she was in her 3rd year and the president of the chemistry club. Once everything she said finally clicked in his mind, Rentaro slammed his head on the floor and begged her to date him. Kuzuri was pleased with this development and went to help him up, saying she would love to be his girlfriend. Later, he took her to the rooftop to introduce her to the others. When Karane asked her to tell them about herself, the nutjob told them she loved drugs. Immediately, she tried to strangle Rentaro for getting involved with a junkie, but he explained that she had the wrong idea. Once she let him go, he revealed that Kuzuri was their senpai and only looked like that because of a failed drug test. With that out of the way, Kuzuri announced that she'd brought drugs for everyone and pulled out a tube containing plot enhancement drugs for Karane. The girl got so pissed hearing this, saying she didn't want it, so Kuzuri began pulling out other drugs for different purposes, none of which changed Karane's mood. She then asked Kuzuri if she'd researched her, and the unlicensed drugstore admitted that Rentaro had told her a few details. Immediately, Karane attacked Rentaro for selling her out, but he explained that he hadn't done it to ridicule her, so she apologized for trying to murder him. Next on the drug lord's list was Hakari, and she gave her a drug which she swore would make Hakari hotter, but it melted her clothes off after she drank it. Kuzuri claimed the drug had done its job, as there was nothing hotter than a woman in her birthday suit, but Hakari disagreed. Rentaro then handed Hakari his sweats to put on, but the girl grew worried it would melt off as well. Kuzuri said it wouldn't because the drug only worked once, and then gave Shizuka a drug which made her sprout drug ears, so Rentaro started playing with it. Last but not least, she gave Nano a drug which gave her the ability to control her hair, and she used it to pull Rentaro in for a kiss. Nano liked how effective her drug was, and when she mentioned this to Kuzuri, the girl offered to supply her with more. However, she warned that if she kept taking it, all her hair would fall out. Nano said she didn't mind, but Rentaro told her not to even think about it because if she lost all her hair, she would look like a baby mole rat. Eventually, they all sat down, and as they ate the cookies which Kuzuri brought, she told them that her dream was to become a drug researcher. After talking about her dream for a while, she excused herself to go to the bathroom. However, before she left, she told the girls that one flask contained a special tea for Rentaro. By the time she returned, she found the girls drinking the wrong tea and tried to stop them. Rentaro told her it wasn't a big deal, but Kuzuri argued that it was, explaining that she'd mixed a drug with that tea so that he would have an uncontrollable desire to kiss his lover. She had done it because she wanted him to kiss her, and Rentaro told her that she didn't need to drug him to get a kiss. His words made her excited, but before she could kiss him, she was suddenly yanked away from him by a zombified Karane. It turned out that the drug had been so potent that it turned the girls into zombies who sought kisses instead of brains. It also gave them superhuman strength, and Kuzuri warned that if they didn't take a neutralizer soon, they would remain that way forever. Just then, the girls tried to grab Rentaro, but Kuzuri pulled him out of the way, and together, they ran towards the door. As soon as they slammed it in the girls' faces, Kuzuri told Rentaro that she had to get to the chemistry lab to make the neutralizer. On their way to the lab, the girls who had escaped from the rooftop blocked their path, so Kuzuri pulled out a tube from her drug collection. The only problem was that it was a face-melting drug, so Rentaro told her not to use it on them because he didn't want them to get hurt. Instead, he suggested they take another path to the lab, but as they ran, and Baba showed up and started chasing them for running in the halls. Her sudden appearance spooked Kuzuri, so she tossed the face-melting drug at the woman, and all her makeup melted off, shocking them. Kuzuri couldn't believe that the woman's makeup had been so thick that it stopped her drug while the new exposed creature of the night tried to hide her hideous face. After she crawled back into the shadows, Rentaro and Kuzuri tried to continue their quest, but stopped when they noticed that the girls had split up. Since they were running out of time, Rentaro suggested splitting up as well. He said he would lure the girls away since they were after him, and Kusuri agreed. As he ran in the opposite direction, Shizuka began chasing him, but she suddenly tripped and fell, so he went back to check on her. It wasn't until he took her to the nurse's office and tended to her that the simp remembered he was supposed to be running away from her. Before he could react, Shizuka pinned him underneath her thanks to her superhuman strength and started kissing him. As a man of culture, he got sucked into the moment, but when his rational side retook control, he stopped her and hung up like a coat. He then promised he would return for her once the neutralizer was ready and rushed off to the chemistry lab. On his way there, he ran into Karane and Hakari, and when he tried to avoid them, Karane threw Hakari at him like a pro shot put athlete. After Hakari slammed into him, knocking him to the floor, they made sure to hold him down before taking turns to kiss him. Somewhere along the line, both girls started arguing like they usually did when they were in their right state of mind, and Rentaro saw this as his ticket to escape. He grabbed the back of their heads and pushed them towards each other, so they kissed and forgot about him. As he watched them kiss, he found himself enjoying the show, but had to remind himself that he was on a mission. He then rushed off and when he arrived at the lab, was surprised to find Nano, not Kujuri, there, so he hid inside an empty locker in the hallway. There, he prayed that Kujuri had found another place to make the neutralizer, but realized his prayers were for nothing when he noticed that Kujuri was in the locker with him. Kujuri explained that she'd hidden inside the locker when she saw Nano inside the lab. It turned out that, even in her zombified state, Nano was still using her brain cells to the fullest, and Rentaro figured she was the one who had given the order to surround them earlier. Kujuri proposed that Rentaro act as bait to draw Nano away so that she could sneak into the lab, but he pointed out that Nano would figure out the plan. He then tried to think of another way to get Kujuri to the lab, but the girl suddenly started crying, distracting him. Confused, he asked what the problem was, and Kujuri told him that if it weren't for her, they wouldn't be in that situation. As she sobbed harder, she told him about how all the members of her club had left because all she cared about was creating drugs. Just as she swore never to create any drug again, she felt something in her pocket, so she pulled it out. To her surprise, it was a tube of neutralizer, and when Rentaro saw it, his hope returned because he figured they could give it to Nano. However, Kusuri dashed that hope when she suddenly drank the neutralizer. When he attempted to take it away from her, she dropped the tube and the remaining drug was wasted, so Kujuri began blaming him. He argued that she was at fault because they could have given the neutralizer to Nano, but instead, she drank it. Kujuri explained that she planned to walk into the lab as her original self because Nano was unfamiliar with it and wouldn't try to stop her. Rentaro was speechless, not because he realized he'd made a mistake, but because Kujuri was pressed against him firmly. Unaware of the effect she had on him, Kujuri asked why he was red in the face, and when he couldn't answer, she told him that she had to go. She had only drunk a little bit of the neutralizer, so its effects wouldn't last. When she came out of the locker, Nano ignored her, but Kujuri moved closer to her to tie her up and panicked when Nano stared at her. Without thinking, she said her name and got tied up instead, so Rentaro had no choice but to reveal himself. Nano immediately chased after him, and when he locked himself in an empty classroom, she broke the lock and went in after him. Since he was trapped, she grabbed him and started kissing him, refusing to let go until Kujuri arrived with the neuralizer to save him. Later, when the girls woke up, they apologized to Rentaro for what they had done when they were kiss zombies. However, Karane and Hakari claimed they had no memories of their time as zombies because they were embarrassed to admit that they had kissed each other, and liked it. A tearful Kujuri then apologized to the group for being reckless with her drugs and ruining their first meeting, but they assured her that they weren't angry with her. Rentaro even promised to always help her clean up whatever mess her drugs created, and asked her not to give up on her dream of becoming a drug researcher. Moved by his words, Kujuri hugged him and declared that she loved him, after which she kissed him like she'd wanted to do before. Days later, Rentaro took the girls to a popular flower garden, where they learned that a flower tossing event was being held. According to the rules, the winner would get to wear a wedding dress and take wedding photos with their significant other. Hakari became excited after hearing about it because it had always been her dream to wear a wedding dress, so Rentaro suggested they all enter. While waiting for the competition to start, they noticed King Kong's sister hyping up her gang members to win at all costs. Nano explained that they were a Japanese biker gang known as the Guerrilla Syndicate, which had been in existence since the beginning of the 21st century, and Rentaro thanked her for the heads up. Hakari proposed they work together and said they would draw lots later to decide who would wear the dress. After they agreed to her proposal, Rentaro instructed Shizuka to stay back, as she was tiny and he didn't want her to get caught up in the craziness. Kujuri didn't have a problem because she had brought her neutralizer and drank it to make herself bigger. When they noticed the guerrilla gang using banners to cheer themselves on, Rentaro decided that Shizuka would need one too. He didn't have the materials to create one, so he took a towel and scribbled the words Rentaro family on it. As soon as the girls saw it, they started swooning and acting all shy, After doing a group cheer, they moved towards the stage, and the gang continued chanting aggressively. However, they suddenly stopped when they noticed Shiska jumping up and down with her towel. They thought she looked adorable and even considered taking her home like she was some stray cat or something. Just then, the announcer called everyone's attention to the stage, as the game was about to begin. When he brought out the flower tosser to the stage, Rentaro and the girls were surprised to see that it was Inbaba. She was once a shot putter, so when she threw the bouquet, it went soaring through the sky like a bird. The crowd immediately rushed after it, hoping to catch it, but the guerrilla gang started making their move. They pushed people out of the way even though it was against the rules, and claimed they were conducting a special training. The leader even tossed one of her members at Hakari, but Karane saved her before she got hit. She then declared she was switching teams and went after the gang's leader, who refused to go down. She ordered her people to perform a maneuver called Gorikane, which created a mini tornado and sent the bouquet flying towards her instead. Rentaro immediately went after it, but changed directions when he noticed that Shiska was coming in hot on her towel glider, thanks to the tornado carrying her along with it. Because she was high up, Shiska was able to grab the bouquet, and as a result, she fell since she wasn't using the towel as her glider anymore. To prevent her from becoming a stain on the ground, the Melon Squad formed a human trampoline to catch her. However, because the recoil feature on their packages was powerful, Shiska bounced off, but Rentaro caught her. The gorilla lady screamed in annoyance after losing, but Karane approached her and extended her hand. She said she wanted to thank her for being a worthy opponent, but the truth was that she was thanking her for keeping her busy while the girls used their plots to save Shiska. If she had been with them, she would have been useless, as her flat chest wouldn't have done anything for Shiska. Rentaro and the girls then celebrated their victory, and Hakari reminded them that they had to draw lots to select the bride for the shoot. However, they didn't know that Hakari's determination to wear the dress had pushed her to rig the lots in her favor. Just as they were about to begin, Nano suggested that they pick at the same time instead of taking turns, and Hakari started panicking. In the end, there wasn't anything she could do about it, but after they all picked their lots, she was surprised to see that she had won. As she began celebrating her win, Kujiri started throwing a tantrum, insisting she be the one to wear the dress. As she rolled around like an over-pampered brat, Hakari felt bad and offered to let her take her place. Fortunately, after she hugged, Kujiri realized that she had forgotten to act her age, so she apologized to Hakari and told her to wear the dress. With that, Hakari fulfilled her dream, and after they finished taking all the pictures they wanted, she thanked Rentaro and told him they had to break up, which shocked him. Since she walked away, he rushed to change his clothes, but when he came out and asked a staff member where she was, he was told she had already left. Worried, he tried calling her, but Hakari didn't pick up, leaving him even more concerned than before. So later that day, he went by her house to speak with her, and when he spotted her standing by the window, he called out to her. Immediately, Hakari signaled for him to be quiet because, at that moment, a security guard was patrolling the area. After the guard left, Hakari called Rentaro with an unknown number and told him to go, but he refused, saying he wouldn't leave until she explained why she wanted to break up with him. Hakari told him she had fallen out of love with him, but he didn't believe her and insisted she tell the truth. In the end, Hakari caved and admitted it was because her mother disapproved of their relationship. Suddenly, her mother closed the curtains, then took the phone from Hakari and threatened Rentaro to stay away from her daughter. Rentaro tried pleading his case, but she hung up the phone, and he was dragged away by the security guard, who returned. Meanwhile, inside the house, Hakari pleaded with her mother to forgive her, and her mother told her that if she messed up again, she would ship Rentaro away. Hakari swore never to disobey her again, so the woman hugged her and said she was doing everything for her good. Later, as Rentaro walked home, he thought back to the way Hakari's mother spoke to him, and wondered what he'd done to incur the woman's wrath. He also felt hopeless because there wasn't anything he could do to get the woman to change her mind. While he was wallowing in self-pity, he spotted a 4-leaf clover and started reminiscing about his time with Hakari. Eventually, he decided on something and called the others to the park to inform them about Hakari's mother. He also told them he was going to break Hakari out of her home and run away with her, but the girls told him that Hakari's mother would find them. Rentaro knew this, but he didn't care and begged the girls to wait for him during that period. However, he realized how selfish he was being and tried to retract the request, but Karane cut him off, saying she preferred to go with him. The others also said the same thing because it was apparent he couldn't get Hakari out alone. When they arrived at Hakari's place, they climbed over the fence to get in, and Rentaro warned them about the security guards. He then pulled out a rubber ball from his backpack and explained to the girls that he wanted to throw it at Hakari's window to get her attention. Unfortunately, he had a terrible aim, so he missed, and the ball bounced off the wall. They then began searching for the ball to try again, and Karane found it in the family cat's possession. When she attempted to take it back, the feline ran off, so she chased after it and fell. Kujiri also tried to catch it, so the cat kept running towards Nano, who planned to kick it. Fortunately, Rentaro intervened before that could happen and told her not to be a heartless witch. Just then, they heard the security guard approaching, so they moved like ninjas and hid in the bushes. Rentaro took the cat with him, but it escaped and approached the guard, who began playing with it. Since the cat took the ball with it, they could no longer go with their first plan and decided to go inside the house. Unfortunately, the only way in was through the cat flap, and since none of them could fit through it, Nano came up with a plan. She gathered rocks from the garden and started aiming for the lock through the cat flap. Once she succeeded, she opened the door for them to go in, but Rentaro noticed that something was wrong with her hand. She tried hiding it from him, but he pulled her hand towards him and saw that she'd gotten injured from shooting the rocks. Immediately, he asked Karane to retrieve the bandages and disinfectant from his bag. After she finished treating Nano, she scolded her for being reckless. Nano didn't see what she'd done wrong and explained that she had done it because she owed Hakari a favor for defending her at the pool. When the group finally went into the house, they were approached by a guard dog, which scared the living daylights out of them. To be on the safe side, Rentaro ordered them to retreat, but when they got outside, he realized that Shiska was still inside. She was too scared to move, and when Rentaro tried calling out to her, Nano stopped him, reminding him about the security guard. At the same time, the terrified Shiska started reprimanding herself for coming on the mission when she had no spine. However, when she thought back to how nice Hakari had been to her, she told herself that she had to be strong. She then lay down, preparing to sacrifice herself for the cause, but instead of tearing her to pieces like she thought it would, the dog started licking her face. Nano explained that dogs instinctively protect the weak, and since it sensed that Shiska was vulnerable, it decided to protect her rather than attack. Rentaro and the others were glad to hear this, but Rentaro pointed out that if they re-entered the house, the dog would switch and turn on them. Nano suggested asking Shiska to gouge the dog's eyes out, but Rentaro told her she could get locked up for animal cruelty. Just then, Kuzuri held up a tube of medicine and asked Rentaro to leave the dog to her. She quietly approached the door and rolled the tube towards Shiska before revealing that it was a sleeping drug. However, when she instructed Shiska to use it, she failed to tell the girl to use it on the dog, so Shiska drank it and fell asleep.
Women.
As Karane began scolding Kuzuri for making such a mistake, the dog licked Shiska's mouth and instantly fell asleep. After thanking the plot gods for the save, the group entered the house. When they arrived at a long corridor, the cat suddenly reappeared and triggered the sensors, setting off the alarm. However, when the guards came, they found only the cat, as Rentaro and the girls had hidden. After they took the cat and left, the group became worried as they didn't know how to pass without triggering the remaining sensors. Fortunately, Kuzuri had a solution and handed Rentaro a small vial of eye drops, which she claimed would help him see the sensors. Karane was the only one who noticed that she pulled it from an envelope which had fallen. When she picked it up, Kuzuri quickly grabbed the envelope and hid it, but not before Nano read what was written on it. She informed Karane that it had been addressed to a foreign research team with a pharmaceutical lab. This made Karane recall what Kuzuri had said about her dream, so she asked Kuzuri why she'd given it to them, knowing the implications. Kuzuri explained that she did it because she wanted to help Hakari and make up for all the trouble she caused her in the past. She also said she saw Hakari as her friend and that her friends were more important than anything. During this time, Rentaro's eyes were closed, but he swore that everyone's sacrifice wouldn't be in vain. When he finally opened his eyes, they had changed, and he discovered he could now see the sensors running from the floor to the ceiling. He also noticed that the ceiling seemed lower than usual and realized it was because there were no sensors where the Chandler was. He then told the girls that the only way through was to climb up to the ceiling, and Kuzuri asked if he thought they were Spider-Man. After thinking it over for a while, he agreed it would be impossible for them to do it. Nano said the other solution was for two people to work together and climb to the top. Suddenly, a thought occurred to them, and they looked at Karane as if she were their savior. Before the girl could ask what they were plotting, she was tied to Rentaro. Karane didn't appreciate getting thrown into an impromptu Mission Impossible reboot, but there wasn't anything she could do about it. After a gruesome few minutes spent testing their core strength, the duo successfully reached the other side. Rentaro then called out to the others, asking them to wait while he and Karane rushed to find Hakari. As soon as they located her room and opened the door, alarms went off, and they were encircled by security guards and Hakari's mother, Hahari. Following their capture, they were taken to another room, where Rentaro tried and failed to convince Hahari to let Hakari leave with them. The woman was dead set on keeping her daughter away from Hakari because she believed she was protecting her from heartbreak. The same heartbreak she felt after Hakari's father fell ill and died at a very young age. She said that Hakari was proof that her father existed, and she wasn't willing to risk her daughter's happiness for love again. After she concluded her gut-wrenching tale, Rentaro started crying, causing the effects of the eye drop to wear off. The moment he wiped his eyes and could finally see properly again, he locked eyes with Hahari and was hit with the soulmate zing. Almost immediately, the woman lost her composure and pleaded with Rentaro to date her. Karane was shocked beyond words after hearing what Hahari said. And as she wondered if the woman was okay in the head, Rentaro began stuttering like a fool. She immediately screamed at him to get his act together and stop getting carried away by the woman's plot size. Just as she reminded him that Ahari was Hakari's mother, the woman came back to her senses and claimed that she'd been joking. Karane knew she was lying, as her cougar radar was going off the rails, but she kept her mouth shut. Ahari then repeated that she wouldn't let Rentaro be with Hakari, but Rentaro told her that he wouldn't give up. He said he'd promised Hakari that he would also make her happy, but Ahari refused to believe anything he said. The next moment, she snapped her fingers and a chair, which she said was a lie detector, came up out of the ground. Addressing Rentaro, she told him that if the chair revealed that he was lying about his feelings for Hakari, he would leave and never contact her again. Rentaro agreed and asked her to prove that the chair was what she said it was. Ahari then had Karane sit in the chair so she could use her as a test subject. The first question she asked was about the size of Karane's plot covers, which made the girl complain. However, she still answered the question, saying it was a C cup. Immediately, the machine indicated she was lying, so she said it was a cup. But that was also a lie. Annoyed, she punched the machine when it wouldn't stop repeating that she was lying, and Ahari asked the next question. She wanted to know if Karane loved Rentaro, and she answered that she did, but the machine said it was a lie. This caused Rentaro to lose a few pints of blood, and he lost me each time Karane repeated her answer, but was tagged a liar. His blood loss was so severe that he was on the verge of death, and could see his grandma waving to him from beyond the river Styx. It wasn't until Karane shouted out that Rentaro was the person she loved most in the world that the chair agreed that she was telling the truth. That confirmation brought Rentaro back from his trip beyond the veil and soaked up all his blood like a freaking sponge. Following this, he took Karane's place and declared that he also loved her more than anyone in the world, so she scolded him. After he apologized for getting carried away, Ahari began questioning him, and the machine proved that he was telling the truth. Ahari then fell to her knees in disbelief, but she got back up and said that the machine's accuracy was questionable. Hearing this, Karane accused Ahari of using the machine to humiliate her, and as she complained, a maid arrived with bad news. She said that Hakari was trying to throw herself out of the window, and before Ahari could react, Karane grabbed her by the shoulder, threatening to snap her neck if anyone moved. She then instructed Rentaro to find Hakari and take her as far away from there as possible. Rentaro hesitated because he didn't want to be selfish and leave her behind, but she assured him that it was okay. She told him that as long as he promised to return to her one day, she didn't mind waiting, and that took the load off his chest. He thanked her for understanding and then rushed off to find Hakari while Ahari tried to break free from Karane. As she pushed forward, Karane did her best to keep her restrained because she didn't want her to stop Rentaro. Ahari claimed that she would show her what a mother's love meant, but Karane told her not to underestimate the love of a best friend. Meanwhile, Rentaro arrived at Hakari's room to find the guards standing outside, as they were worried that approaching her would push her to jump. Hoping for the best, Rentaro called out to Hakari, saying that they could leave because Karane was holding her mother back. Hakari told him there was no point in running, as her mother would find them wherever they went. Rentaro pleaded with her not to go through with her plan, saying that losing her would be the worst thing that would ever happen to her. His plea finally reached her, but she suddenly froze with fear as the adrenaline wore off. Rentaro then instructed her to remain where she was, but as he approached her, she slipped. Fortunately, he caught her before she could fall, but couldn't pull her up without risking his life. Seeing this, Hakari pleaded with him to let go, but he refused and maneuvered himself in a way that they both fell into the fountain. The girls immediately rushed to check on them. When Ahari and Karane came outside, Karane walked over to Hakari and slapped her. Her actions surprised everyone, but when they started crying together, Rentaro understood why Karane had slapped Hakari. Ahari then admitted she'd misjudged Rentaro and begged him to take care of her daughter, as he promised. Rentaro assured her that he would, but surprised her by saying he would also take care of her, so she hugged him. The girls could only watch the scene in shock, as no one understood what on earth was happening. After she let go of him, she invited them to spend the night, and they all agreed. During bath time, Karane couldn't handle seeing all the oversized plots everywhere she looked, so she returned to the room. When she walked in, Rentaro noticed her exposed stomach, and his brain immediately went out of order.
Nice.
When Karane questioned his behavior, he pointed out that she was showing too much skin, prompting her to say he was dirty-minded. However, she also wasn't that innocent because she pushed him onto the bed and tried to punish him by rubbing her body on his.
I'm gonna come. Oh.
In the end, she couldn't complete her task because she got excited, and before things could escalate, Kujri barged into the room. The two immediately jumped apart and began doing push-ups so the dumb girl wouldn't suspect a thing. When the others eventually came in, Ahari dressed them all in cute outfits, and Rentaro gushed over Shizuka and Kujri. To thank him, they kissed his cheek, and while that overloaded his brain, it gave Ahari a nosebleed. When the woman realized this, she excused herself, saying she had to go to the kitchen. Rentaro offered to go with her since he also needed a break, but they never made it to the kitchen because Ahari invited him to her room. When they took too long to return, the girls began wondering where they were. Thanks to the scene they witnessed by the fountain, Hakari asked whether the two were hooking up. The girls assured her that it was impossible, but when they heard Hahari's happy sounds, they changed their minds. They then rushed to catch the two in the act, but were surprised to see Rentaro dressed as a girl. Hahari, on the other hand, was rolling on the floor, gushing over how cute he looked. And that's when they realized they had gotten the wrong idea. Unable to bear the shock, Rentaro fainted, but Hahari assured the girls that he would be fine and asked Nano to help with her plan to revive him. Shortly after they returned, but Nano was dressed as a prince, and Hahari said her job was to wake Rentaro with a kiss. Nano did as she was asked. And after Rentaro regained consciousness, he left to take a bath. While he was away, a maid came to give Hahari some rope, and when the woman tried to sneak away with her daughter, they were stopped. The girls wanted to know why they were acting sus, and they admitted that they were going to spy on Rentaro. Kuzuri immediately begged to go with them because she wanted to see what a human pickle looked like, while Nano said she wanted to tag along for research purposes. Karane also asked to tag along, claiming that she didn't want to miss out on the fun. When they tried to leave, Shiska stood in their way and told them that what they wanted to do was wrong. Since she had no LA, they tied her up in a blanket and then left the room to do what they wanted. Meanwhile, Rentaro had expected him to pull such a stunt, so he kept his towel on to avoid trouble. Unknown to him, their plan was already in motion as they lowered Kuzuri to the window. Unfortunately for her, the window was fogged up, preventing her from seeing inside the bathroom, but Kuzuri refused to give up. She pushed her face against the window just as Rentaro looked in that direction, so he screamed, thinking he'd seen a ghost. Kuzuri also panicked, as she assumed he'd caught her, so the others pulled her back up to where they were. While Rentaro prepared to vacate the bathroom, Shiska lay in her makeshift prison, imagining all the things that could go wrong. In her attempt to free herself, she rolled out of the room and into the unknown. During that time, Hahari took the girls up to the attic to get a better view of Rentaro, but the presence of a furry creature scared them. Downstairs, Shiska reached the top of the stairs and was startled by the dog, so she accidentally rolled down the stairs. Along the way, the rope keeping her bound loosened, but she couldn't stop herself from rolling and ended up in the bathroom. Rentaro rushed to check on her, but his movement caused his towel to fall, and Shiska came face to face with his holy relic. After she passed out from shock, Rentaro carried her out of the place and ran into Hahari and the others on his way. It didn't take long for him to guess what they had been up to, so he scolded them for it. Later, while they were playing a game of cards, Hahari suddenly excused herself, so Rentaro followed her out of curiosity. When he found her, he saw that she was praying and had a photo of a young boy, whom she revealed was Hakari's father. Rentaro asked why she never dated anyone after his death, and Hahari said she was scared of forgetting him. She believed that if she fell for someone else, the love she had for him would fade, and he would truly die. Understanding her worry, Rentaro hugged her and told her there was nothing to worry about with him because he wasn't the jealous type. He also assured her that as long as what they felt for each other was real, nothing else mattered. Just then, Hahari recalled Hakari's father telling her to save her first kiss for someone who would stay with her, so she asked Rentaro to kiss her. However, she suddenly felt shy and tried to leave, but Rentaro wouldn't let her and kissed her the way she wanted him to. Long after everyone had gone to bed, Hakari went to lie next to Rentaro and admitted she'd been afraid the entire time they were apart. The thought that they would never get to see each other again was more than she could handle, but everything worked out in the end. Rentaro kissed her when she finished speaking and promised her that he wasn't going away. A little while later, Rentaro was woken up by the sound of kissing, and to his surprise, he saw that it was Karane and Hakari. The girls were performing this act in their sleep, and each one truly believed they were kissing him. Since he could no longer fall asleep, he stepped out of the room, and as he walked through the house, he encountered the ghost of Hakari's father. The guy tried to scare him a bit, but Rentaro didn't flinch, which surprised him because he'd been scared when he mistook Kusuri for a ghost. Rentaro admitted that ghosts terrified him, but said that he was an exception because he knew who he was. As they talked, the ghost thanked him for giving his family the love they deserved, and Rentaro promised to continue doing so. He was still making promises when a bright light enveloped Hakari's father, so the guy told him that the time had come for him to leave. It turned out that he had refused to cross over because he felt guilty for leaving them alone. However, since they now had Rentaro, he could finally move on. Rentaro tried to prevent him from leaving, but there was no use, and after he disappeared, Rentaro woke up in the hallway. His only companion was the cat, but he ignored it, as he wondered if his encounter with the ghost had been a dream. A little while later, he and the girls bid mother and daughter farewell because they had to return home and get ready for school. Before they left, Hahari always asked them to visit, and Rentaro promised he would. However, the woman was so impatient that she decided to buy the school and showed up at the assembly, shocking everyone. At that time, Rentaro was at her house, and after he learned that she was at the school, he ran back. When he arrived, he rushed to the rooftop and was greeted by the sight of his girlfriends waiting for him. What would Rentaro's next girlfriend be like? And do you think he can handle 100 baddies? Well, that's all for this video. If you watched up to this point, comment player. Also,